Hey guys, so today I'm going to be showing you all my tips and tricks for how to get really crisp, clean packages with your Christmas wrapping this year, and this is how I do it. So right now I have my wrapping paper on a system called the Wrap Buddy. I'll try and insert a picture here. This is new for me this year, and it's been really awesome, but you definitely don't have to have one. Essentially it clamps to the edge of the table and holds your tape and wrapping paper. So before we get started on that, the best tape to use that I always use is the Scotch gift wrap tape specifically. I have used the double-sided tape methods and transparent tape and clear tape, and in my opinion this one is the best. I've taken mine off of the holder and put it into my Wrap Buddy system. So you won't be seeing it again, but that's what I'm using. I've got an assortment of ribbons over here and name tags and my scissors. One of my big tips and tricks is to use a glue gun for attaching ribbons such as this to the package, which there's really no good way to tape this on. Yeah, pretty much gluing even regular ribbon on is going to be the only way. You're not going to have it falling off after a day or two. And same goes for bows like these. I don't usually even remove the sticker backer and waste my time with that. I will just put hot glue onto the back of this itself or onto the package and stick it on, and I've yet to have one come off from that method. So I have one plugged in and ready to go for my ribbon here in a minute. Alright, so I'm going to be just using a regular shirt box. I guess one of my other tips is I have a huge assortment of different sizes of these sorts of white foldable boxes, which I highly recommend. You're going to get the best results wrapping something that is symmetrical and hopefully hasn't been too dinged up in shipping, like Amazon boxes, which I do use for some of the larger packages, but for as many of the small ones as I can, I try to use these. They're relatively inexpensive and they're pretty easy to save, and they kind of reuse multiple times well. So here we go. I'm going to roll out my paper and show you how to measure just the right amount of paper. So basically, we want to have the paper, I'm going to be using this white side, but I am using two-sided paper right now. We want to have the folded ends of the box be on this short end right here. And we'd like the length of paper to go around the box this way. So I'm going to orient my box that way and show you how I make sure that there's enough width in this paper to cover the box. The easiest way to do that is just to take your box and stand it on its end, on the far end, and then roll your box, as long as it's not something glass or fragile, 4 times. So you're just going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, and as long as your box doesn't overhang the paper, you're good to go. You know that your paper is wide enough to cover the entirety of the box. So you'll have your folded ends on the sides, so all you're going to do is pull up the paper and check to see if it goes slightly over halfway, which it does, and for me that's about 2 finger widths of paper. So I'm going to come over to the other side of my paper and just put my fingers down as a guide for about 2 finger widths, and then go ahead and cut the paper off here. All right. Like I said, this is double-sided paper, and I'm going to be using a snowflake side on the outside this year. So here we go, just flip that over. This is kind of where my method differs from anything I'm able to find online. I don't remember where I learned this the first time, so I'm sure there's a video out there somewhere. But I'm going to flip my box over. This is not entirely necessary, but at least this puts the seam on the back side of the box. Most people will take their paper and wrap it to meet somewhere in the center of the box and tape it down. But I like to keep the edge lined up with that very edge of the box. so that there's really no visible seam in the back, and it just makes for a cleaner package, and it's really not any more difficult. All right, so once you have it lined up about even on the sides, you're going to take the paper and you're going to fold it up onto your box until you just have a small lip going over, and you're going to crease it along the edge to just keep it there. And then you're going to take a piece of tape and tape that to the box. Okay. Next, you're going to reach across for the length of your paper. You're going to pull it over, and I'm kind of pushing along the box here to make sure that it's nice and taut. And then once you have it nice and tight, you're just going to fold it over, crease it along that edge once more, and then you pinch. Hopefully you can see you can pinch right here as you lift up to just fold the paper under, and do it one more time. So then you just get, on longer boxes you may need 2 pieces of tape to keep it nice and clean. I use a lot of tape. I know there's a lot of tutorials on there on how to use less tape. This is not that one. I think it's really crucial to use plenty of tape to keep your box nice and clean. In fact, I may need one more today. So here we have the back side of our box, and our paper right here is lined up flush with the edge, so you can't see the seam on any of the sides. So next we'll move along to the ends of the box and how to fold those. Okay. The preferred method that I use is to take this folded end on top, and you're going to just press down and crease along the box. For best results and sharpest corners, you would want to take a piece of tape and tape it to the box right over here on the edges where you have your paper coming down. So one there and one over here. Okay, then you're going to pinch and crease these side pieces and push them in. If you can do this on a table where you can overhang the box, which I can here, but I would be out of frame. Sometimes it's easiest to get this clean corner if this is overhanging the free edge, so you can kind of get in there a little closer, but today this looks fine. And you're going to put a piece of tape low down right here. You're going to repeat that on the other side. A lot of it just has to do with creasing as you go and taping, using small pieces of tape to secure everything in place. Okay, so that's where we're at so far. Hopefully it focused. When you have this remnant edge, sometimes this one, it's kind of slanting out to one side a little bit, it's cut slightly crooked for whatever reason. You're going to take this edge and just fold it over one more time. Sometimes I find it easiest to kind of set how deep that is from pushing from the middle, and just crease across here. You can make the one side a little thinner than this side to just kind of straighten that line out. And grab a piece of tape, fold up, and again, one piece of tape in the center will do, but sometimes I prefer to do 2 if I just want to keep it looking really clean. So our one end is completed. We turn it around, and I'm going to repeat the steps on this side. This method really doesn't take any longer than wrapping, I guess, in the traditional way. I'm going slower for demonstration purposes, but see, so what I was talking about here is sometimes if you have any laxity in the paper where you haven't pulled it quite as tight, or for whatever reason, when you go to press in this corner, sometimes you can kind of get some bunching here at the side that wrinkles the paper, and it's easiest if you can overhang the box so that you can kind of push this down as you tape and go to help tighten it up and keep this corner clean. But either way, should still be able to get it, even if you have to lift the box slightly to kind of press in that corner and keep it from kind of marring and folding the paper on the side of the box. All right, I'm going to do the same with this side. The side doesn't need quite as much correcting. Grab some tape. By measuring your paper this way, you're going to have a piece of paper that doesn't have any excess to cut off on the ends and fits your box perfectly without leaving an excess paper to deal with. So here's our package, completed. As you can see, the only seam is right here. I prefer to use these type of sticker labels primarily, and I always put them on the back by the seam to open. A lot of people seem to have actually some trouble tracking down the seam to open the package on mine because it's kind of hard, so the sticker is kind of a dead giveaway to where it is, and I also just don't love the look of the stickers on the front, so I prefer to hide them on the back. So let me write this label, and next we'll move on to placing the ribbon. All right, so let me see. I think I'll do Alrighty, here we go. So next we're going to move on to ribbon. For this package, I'm going to be using this glitter mesh ribbon. Really like how it works with the white with this deep gold ribbon layered over the top of it. There's really endless possibilities for placement, but I'm kind of going to go with a classic right around the center design for this box. All you're going to do to work with this sort of ribbon is just pull it around your box and cut it with an inch or two of overlap. Next, you're going to get your glue gun, and you're going to secure the first side down, kind of line it up where you want it, and you're going to put just a bead of glue down, pretty hefty bead of glue because it pushes through the holes, to kind of secure it in. What I like to use, and I do have a low temperature glue gun here, there's really no need for a high temperature glue gun, and at least you will lessen the risk of burning yourself. Sometimes I just use a piece of scrap wrapping paper or whatever I have around to kind of press that hot glue through the layers of mesh. And then I will kind of crease my this is a wired mesh ribbon at the corners, just to keep it kind of, and hold it while I pull it taut around the package again. And then I'm going to bring it around, place some more glue down. Need more glue. Alright, now that we have more glue, I'm going to just place a little bit more hot glue across, pull this snug, line it up, and just press it into the glue. Again, you can use your piece of paper to kind of make sure that it's fully adhered through there. Mesh ribbon is probably the hardest ribbon to work with. It's not very easy to make bows out of or place onto the packages, but it adds a lot of detail and sparkle, and kind of hard to say no to. Put a little bit more here to just pin down that free edge. Alright, so this is what we have on the front now. You can kind of pull your ribbon a little bit and press those wires down from where it was originally rolled to kind of flatten it out a little bit. It will never be 100% flat. If you want to go really crazy, you could iron your ribbons down. but adds a little bit of texture, I think. All right, I'm going to be using this single-faced satin ribbon. I do own double-faced ribbon like this one, which is shiny on both sides. This is kind of the preference or the more premium ribbon, but it's much more difficult to find. And this particular bow method will work with either. So I'm going to pull myself plenty of excess here, but I do not have to cut this off of the roll yet. And I'll show you how to do that. First, I'll show you just a single bow and then how to turn this into a double bow. So what you're going to do, take my bolt ribbon over there. I'm going to go ahead and just make a single tie in the ribbon. You pull tight, hold it here. All right. Then I'm actually going to turn this around here. Okay, once you have this tied, you're going to take your end that is still attached to your roll, and you're going to make a loop out of it and just hold it in your fingers. It doesn't really matter what size it is now because we will adjust that in a minute. Once you have the loop made from the end that is attached to your roll, you're going to take this ribbon and you're going to try and flip it towards the shiny side and pull it over your loop. Now this is kind of a cool trick I learned from a, I think it was a Korean wrapping video. You're going to just take the ribbon in your hand, okay, and you're going to twist it like that to make a kind of a little curl in it. Then you're going to pinch and pick up this loop that you've made, and you're going to stick it right in between that loop that you've made, this one, and this other piece of ribbon. If you can see where my fingernail is, that's where this loop is going to go through, and we're going to pull. All right, then you're going to pull on the tails to shorten your ribbon, and you can pull on the underside of the ribbon to tighten it down. And you can pull on the tails to shorten your loops. And you can pull on the top of the ribbon to make your loops wider. So that looks about good for me. I'm going to start tightening it down by pulling on the lower portions of this bow. Going to make them a little smaller. And you just kind of have to work with some finesse with bows to kind of get them how you want them. I could have worked with a little bit less room on this, but this way at least I only have to cut off a few inches of my ribbon, which I got off Amazon, so already a little bit cheaper than normal. It's probably going to be your best bet for getting inexpensive ribbon. All right, I'm going to go ahead and cut this ribbon off at an angle. Say about there, and do the same over here. Now, there's two ways that you can do this. I'm going to go ahead and turn this into a double bow, kind of a loop bow on this package. But if you just wanted to have a standard bow like this, you're just going to pull this tail forward and adjust your bow accordingly and cut it at an opposite angle like so. But for this one, I'm going to put the other tail pointing this opposite direction and cut it off at an angle as well. You can also leave your tails pointing opposite directions as it is here. It's up to whatever your preference is. Okay, so here's where we're at right now. Turning this into a more elaborate bow that looks like you spent a ton of time on it is actually a really simple step. And I'll show you how here. I'm going to turn my package so I can work a little easier. You're just going to take that same roll of ribbon and place the ribbon shiny side up through underneath the bow that you've just made. Then going to make a loop like you did before and take this ribbon, cross it over, flip it, and you're going to put it right under just like the last bow. It's the same sort of bow making technique, and pull, and then kind of pull your tails in, shorten it up, pull on the underside of the bow. Kind of just work it until it's starting to look how you want it to look. Again, bow making is definitely more finesse than actual method, I'd say. I'm going to kind of work with this a little more, but I can tell that's all of the ribbon that I need, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this off here and give myself a little bit of room to work here without that bolt being attached anymore. Just kind of want to pull your loops where you want them. You can feel free to do this a third time if you want to do a 6-loop bow, but the 4-loop bow is one of my favorites and only takes an extra minute or so to complete. I'm going to go ahead and cut this tail a little shorter to match the others. Take a look at what we have. I think that's pretty good. So this is how to do a double loop bow and my basic gift wrap technique. I hope that this was helpful and that it will show some of you how you can up your game this year. Merry Christmas, everybody.